I really hope my stream stops doing that. Hello everybody. We're just using the official music now because I didn't want to like go through linking stuff and blah 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 blah. So so anyway, I'm gonna lower the volume a wee bit. Okay, so we were discussing lilies, and I was talking about, I'm so sorry guys, every time you watch my stream, a thing happens and you have to like jump over to the next stream. It's ridiculous. How horrible. But anyway, at least now, hopefully, nothing else will go sour and we can resume. There's a weirdness going on though, like I can't my computer's all kind of befuddled. I'm trying to sort out how to get back to my game, and I'm wondering if my game crashed. Okay. I think OBS is just acting really funky. Alright, so now hopefully if it doesn't muck up on me. It probably is a curse. It's the curse of Queen America. It's the curse of Queen America, I tell you. But okay, I think we're back. I think everything's working. Does it appear to be working to you? Yeah, you have to contend with the multiple streams. Okay, alright then. So as I was saying before, say hi to my Saint Katrina bills. Lol. Anyway, as I was saying before about the lilies, learning about the different colors and their meaning, and then like that if they're closed or wilting, for example, or you know, fully blossoming and fully open. Learning about that just made me think, okay, so Miyazaki always presents things in his games for a reason, like he's trying to tell a story. And I think it fits really beautifully with what we know about the characters. There's so much cut content of Centrina that we know about. There's the Cradle song, and apparently Centrina went below Lanedale and was singing to the Madness merchant people in an attempt to soothe them. So it's interesting that sleep would soothe madness, especially because there is a spell that you can get it's a sort of carrion magic specifically. Um, I think it's called um, insight or something like that. It's something cerebral, and when you cast illumination, something like that, when you cast it, it cures buildup of madness and sleep. And I thought that was fascinating that there's a specific spell that only carrion sorcerers of all people in the world, lucidity, thank you, that only carrion sorcerers of all people in the world have access to, and it specifically addresses sleep and madness. And those two things, the only other time that we are aware of those two things meeting, is because I think focus is the stat that allows you to resist both of those build-up effects. But also, St. Trina singing to the merchants. And she sings a specific song called the Cradle Song. And you can hear some of the merchants playing the Cradle Song on their little violin type instruments. And that's really cool because it sort of signifies that maybe those specific merchants either learned that song from somebody who heard St. Trina singing it, or learned it from, someone else amongst their people who learned it directly from St. Trina. So it's just really cool that these things are all in the game, but you really have to dig for this lore outside of the game in order to find it. Like, you can't just, it's not something that's delivered to you in game. You thought it was a German reference? What do you mean by that? Who or what is German? Oh, Bloodborne. Oh, okay. That's why I don't know who you're talking about, because Elden Ring is my first Souls game. It could be a reference to something that I'm completely unaware of, and that's why I didn't know that it was a reference to something I'm completely unaware of, because I'm completely unaware of it. But, having said all of that, there's further lore still of St. Trina. If you go to where we meet Roderica, you didn't used to meet Roderica there, and no worries, Apollo. You didn't used to meet Roderica there. You used to meet some guy named Rico there, and he would sell you like a crystal ball and these drinks that and they give you the ability to see the dreams of others, and then that you can go inside of those dreams. Sleep was also a way to soothe the undying and the cursed beings in Dark Souls 2. The Milfinito would sing to them. Oh, okay, so it is very much a reference to past things and past games. It's because Bloodborne is all about dreams and nightmares, so you'd probably find a lot of the parallels. Okay, so probably what's happened is they probably said, we've done this before, and maybe like cut it a wee bit so they're not like treading old ground as much. But I mean, it seems to me like they don't mind treading old ground because they seem to do it a lot. Um, but you know, obviously we don't know. But the point of me kind of dredging this all up is that in the base game there's very, very little that we can glean from the story concerning Centrina. There are very few artifacts in the game, and even in the DLC, like Centrina's Blossom, it says Centrina's life withered and fell, as fleeting as the seasons. At her last, she left a single water lily, and this water lily slightly boosts your FP. Despite the velvety purple hue, the flower is in no way poisonous. It merely blooms in quietude. So, though this flower comes from her, and all of that, it doesn't have any of the sweet toxic nectar that we're used to from Centrina, which makes you wonder, well, why not? And honestly, I don't have a good answer for you. Maybe because she's dead, and when she died, her power died with her. Another one of the only artifacts in game that has anything to do with Centrina actually has this flower showcased in it. If you look in Centrina's hair, you can see that this flower is wedged, you know, atop her ear. Devil Lightning says, Mortrina lore might have given up too many of the ambiguous secrets behind the nature of Empyreans. And Paolo says, oh yeah, isn't FP also called focus points? It could be. It very well could be. And so the association between sleep and focus and thereby focus points, it will, you know, make sense in a meta but also a lore way. And I really like the way they marry in Elden Ring lore with meta and tell the story through things that we can associate ourselves with via the functionality of the game, which is fascinating. But Centrina's smile, a talisman in the game that showcases that same flower. The description reads, a talisman depicting a smiling Centrina, a vision conjured deep within a certain man's heart. I think we all know who that certain man is. Raises attack power when sleep is triggered in the vicinity. Only I am allowed to know of your velvety sleep, its sweetly gentle embrace. So please smile, for me and only me. For those of you who are Tolier simps, what is wrong with you? This man is really fucked. And I know that he's definitely, yes, diegetic storytelling. I know that he's definitely an addict, which is perfectly fine. You know, I don't have anything against him being an addict, especially because, you know, we don't know the nature of her toxin. And Tolier, yeah, yes, I believe the man is Tolier. We don't know the nature of his enthrallment. We don't know if it's something that she did, or if she's the victim, which is what it seems like to me, or if, you know, he's just an addict. We don't really know. But Tolier is certainly creepy, and he is, as you can see, he's like controlling, he's jealous, he's toxic, and I think the word toxic is exactly what they're trying to highlight here. Toxic. Her sleep is a toxic nectar that would keep you subdued. If you are just a normal person, it can kill you. But if you're an Empyrean or perhaps a god, maybe its effects are greater than, just a sleep potion or something. But surely, it would have some kind of toxic effect on you. Which brings me to the Velvet Sword of Centrina. In the base game we have the Sword of Centrina, and I'm just going to quickly go over the differences of them. But in Centrina's sword from the base game, the sword is described as a silver sword carried by clerics of Centrina, inflicts sleep ailment upon the foes. So the implications of Centrina having clerics, it suggests that Centrina was around and operating enough to build a following, so that specifically there were priestly sorts who were studying under her and worshipping and in full support of her. And they carried these swords that inflicted sleep. So she was sharing her power with them, and likely they may have been in as much a toxic relationship with her as Tiolier was. We can't know, unfortunately, because we don't have any evidence. All we know is that Centrina disappeared as quickly as she did appear, and that is actually said here. It says Centrina is an enigmatic figure. Some say she's a comely young girl. Others are sure that he's a boy. The only certainty is that their appearance was as sudden as their disappearance. And then it says, what the effect is, that it causes sleep build up. But there's another item in game that gives us even more lore, and is perhaps a little more interesting than that. Blackman says, I never considered the addiction angle. I interpreted Tiolier's devotion and getting upset was more cultish or religious. Like, why is nobody else a follower of this obviously amazing being? Exactly. And I think you are supposed to be kind of tangling with how and why he's behaving the way that he is. But in my opinion, if you listen to the way Tiolier is like, oh, your sweet nectar, oh, la 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 la, he sounds like he is one of those people who's like fiending. He's like, he wants a fix. And that seems to be all that he is concerned with. He doesn't talk about her well-being. He's not concerned about how she landed where she did. He also doesn't seem concerned about Mikola at all until we let him know that she wants Mikola dead because, Mikola betrayed her and left her there, in that cave. Which is interesting because she never says that. She never says that Mikola betrayed her. What she said is she never even fusses about her predicament. In fact, the only thing that she says is that she wants us to free Mikola from what she believes is him imprisoning himself in godhood. And so she wants us to kill him. Apollo says, is her main goal simply to provide everyone with a sweet sleep? That's the thing, her motivations are hard to pin down. But if we read this torch, which is another item that we can find in the base game, I think it can give us a hint at something, which is where I'm where I'm leading into this. Centrina's torch says a candle stand torch that burns with a light purple flame. The carvings depict Centrina, but in adult form, somewhat unnervingly. The light purple flame induces sleep. So its unique skill is fires of slumber. Blow into the candlestick's flame, creating a stream of hazy purple fire to cover the ground ahead. The intoxicating flames inflict the sleep ailment upon foes. So I think her sleep ability, derived from a plant, works very much in the same way as most toxins. With the right amount of dilute, it can be used medicinally, but with the right amount of concentrate, it can be used effectively as a weapon, a tranquilizer, or a poison. The reason why this is important in understanding the nature of not only Centrina herself, in my opinion, but also the nature of her relationship with Mikola, is because I believe we are given more evidence than I think a lot of people have considered as to the dynamic between them. As Mikola wanders around the Shadow Realm, we come across these rune arcs, I guess. I don't know what to call them. The crosses, the Mikolan crosses. And they each have little messages. Well, the one that leads up to Centrina, it says, "Here I abandon my doubt, my vacillation." A lot of people online in lore videos have interpreted the word vacillation to mean like their ability to make a decision. But that's not what vacillation is. Vacillation is the state of not being able to decide, not the ability to decide, but indecision is what it is. It's being in the state of indecision. It's ambivalence is what it is. So when you are vacillating, you are in the act of you're in the act of deciding without having yet decided, right? So if you have doubt and vacillation, and these two things are associated with sleep, which is a toxin, and we know from speaking to Miss Trina that she believes Mikola should die instead of become a god, because becoming a god is like being in prison. And she likely believes this because she's seen what happened to Marika. She saw that Marika was naught but a vessel, a puppet at the mercy of a being of higher power above her, and that Marika, in trying to fix things, the fickle nature of having all of these human-ish emotions and trying to fix things had drastic outcomes and was not always a good thing for the people of the lands between. Sarieldra says, I just remembered about a cut content item called Dream Brew. It's alcohol you use to put people to sleep to collect their dreams. Yes, that's what I was talking about when I went up to Roderica and was talking about the cut content, and that you buy the Dream Brew from Rico after you collect a certain amount of like sleep dust or whatever from sleeping animals around the map. But yes, so back to what I was saying about Centrina. Doubt and vacillation being associated with the sweet nectar of her toxic sleep made me think of people that smoke too much weed who are in a state of ambivalence about their future, because I've been to university. I've met a lot of people who are smoking too much weed and who are in vacillation about their relationships, about their careers, about furthering their education, about a lot of things like that, about personal decisions of like, should they move in with their girlfriend or stay with their roommates or go back to their parents, like all those things. But they're smoking weed, and so they can't make proper decisions because they just don't care enough about anything. And they're like constantly in a haze. And when I smoked weed in university, I remember it was a miserable experience. It made me feel stupid for days. And I had only smoked a little bit. It made me super sleepy, and it made me feel really stupid, and it was like a bad version of being drunk. I don't know. I did not like it at all. It was awful. And everybody always tells me, oh, you just had like a bad batch or whatever. And I was like, you know what? As an autistic person, I prefer to be lucid. I don't like substances altering my perceptions. But anyway, that's just my personal experience. I understand that lots of other people really enjoy cerebral substance alterations. Yes, Metal Fox Sound. It made me feel stupid, lazy, EP, and hungry. And I was like, I don't know. It also made me feel like ambivalent about a lot of things. I could not make decisions, good decisions, good choices. So when Mikola talks about abandoning his doubt and vacillation, in the same place, very close to where he abandons his love and his fate, I think I understand what happened now. So I spoke recently about how Mikola wanted to ascend to godhood. His master plan was to clear the board of all of the players who have control and a hand in keeping the things in the world that are fucking it up. Like, the only way to fix this system is to completely break it, get rid of it, and rebuild something new. And he and Ronnie, I think, have the same idea, but their method of getting there is very different. Ronnie's like, okay, I'm gonna fuck off to Mars, and I'm gonna do a thing over here, and none of you are gonna know anything about it, and you just live your lives, don't worry about me, I got this. You do your thing, I'll do mine. And that's, she'll let the millennia go by and hope that, whatever outcome is whatever outcome. But know that the meddling and the fickleness of the gods won't be a problem anymore because the people in the lands between don't know anything about the gods. And the gods are insulating themselves from, the world and making horrible decisions that affect the people of the world. But Megala's approach is dismantling and rebuilding. And I think when Mikala ascends to godhood and creates his circlet, if we read his circlet, it says, I don't even know if I have it on this character. If we read his circlet, it says that this circlet was meant to be the foundation upon which his new world would be built, which to me makes it very clear that that's supposed to be his Elden Ring. If St. Trina is his fate and his love, and he abandoned her, and what we hear her say is, kill him, godhood is a prison. I think that St. Trina and Mikala both still love each other, and they're both still trying to help each other, and I'll explain why. Mikala knows his master plan is that he knows our involvement. He knows that we will come find him, and that we will destroy everyone and everything between us and Elden Lordship. He knows this. So he plans to ascend to godhood, create all of the kindness of gold without order, to balance the perfect order that Gold Mask can create. Because the only thing missing from perfect order of gold is kindness. So Mikala's plan is for us to kill him, to take his crown, to take his circlet and add it to a perfect order of gold in the future, right? So that's his master plan. St. Trina actually wants to help him with his master plan. If we are down here with St. Trina and Tiolier, it suggests that we've been in pursuit of Mikala, and that we are perhaps Mikala loyalists in the same way that Tiolier was up until the very end. She may be asking us to kill him, to help him not be imprisoned as a god, yes, but also to further his plan. She still loves him, and she understands that him abandoning her down here, while all of us on the surface look to it as a terrible, sad, horrible, selfish shit thing that he did to her, I think he was actually sparing her the possibility of his fate should we fail. Exactly, Apollo, that's exactly where I'm going with this. He did not want her to be imprisoned because he's been listening to her vacillate over his decision. He wants to become a god. She's like, please, no, don't become a god because it will be your prison. You'll be stuck there for eternity. And nobody's going to be able to kill a god. A tarnished cannot kill a god. But Mikala knows that he has to create his golden ring of kindness. He has to, in order for that to be added to the Elden Ring. So he won't let her fears, her doubt, and her vacillation stop him from his master plan. He knows what he must do. So he tells her, sweet Trina, I abandon here my love and my fate. And the only way and the only thing that makes this possible is that he wields the power of the stars through Radon. He controls his own fate because he has Radon. Radon, who stopped Ronnie's fate until we killed him. He's now in command of the stars again. And I'm glad that you're leading me into all of this stuff, Apollo. Devil Lightning, allow me to challenge that idea. I think Mikola understood the power of Centrina. The thing about Mikola and Centrina is they are shamans. Their flesh melds harmoniously with the flesh of others, which is why their flesh melds harmoniously with each other. They are Empyreans. Mikola hid her down here because there's something specific down here that will nurture her and help her grow stronger. And it's all around us. And it's related to their ancestors. Inside these great tombs above us leaks out a putrescence of death. And this rainbowy, oily, slick black putrescence also relates very interestingly to something else that we know of from the Nox called a silver tear mimic. And yes, Metal Foxhound, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I think that Ronnie and Mikola align, which is why Mikola never went after Ronnie and Ronnie never went after Mikola, and they very well may have planned the Night of the Black Knives together, because we know that the Black Knife Assassins, they're actually loyal to Mikola. But I'll get into all of this at another time, because today we're talking about Centrina and Mikola. So the reason why I think Mikola chose the Fisher is because inside of these great tombs are a people, a specific people, who I believe from the reliefs and the glyphs along the side of it are related to the Newman, to the shaman. Their death feeds this fissure. Giant, like, swaths of goop. Do you see that, like, what looks like stalagmites just dripping from the thingy right there, from the thingy. There's goop everywhere, okay? And if we go down here and we look at this, this looks exactly like a silver tear, what do you call it? It looks like a thingy, my bobby. Is it called a silver mimic tear? There it is. Silver tear husk. If we read about it, it says a hardened husk shared by a formless life form known as the silver tear, found in and around the Eternal City. if we go down to the congealed putrescence, it says bruise-colored putrescence that oozes from stone coffins, congealed into a large viscous lump. Look closely at it. Look closely at it. It looks so similar to a silver tear husk in every way, including its model as it's lying on the floor waiting for us to collect it. It's fascinating. I believe that those are the unrefined, primordial version of silver tears, silver-tiered husks. And the Nox and the Numens are that they're all the same people at different periods of time. The reason why Mikola brought Centrina down here is because, just like an Erdtree burial, Centrina is a plant life form. Like she is botanical in nature. She has a root system. If you look at her feet, they are the trunk of like a tiny tree or like a bush or something like that. I think the reason why it's considered artificial, you guys are blowing up the chat and you're gonna derail me. Yes, there was a sword there, and it's this sword here. It's the Velvet Sword of Centrina. That's what you find there. Anyway, stop derailing me. All of you. Look at her feet, okay? Have a look. She is a tree person. The shaman are tree people. Their flesh melds well with, melds harmoniously with the flesh of others. The reason why Mikola brought her down there is very akin to the same reason why there are Erdtree burials. No, it's okay. I'm just joking. And that reason is that he knows that all of that putrescence down there will sustain her, and it will grow her, and their ancestors, whose putrescence that is, will be absorbed into her. And that's a way of honoring them. It's a way of honoring her. So him putting her down in this fissure, on the surface, certainly it looks mean. It looks cruel. But the reality is, it's among the highest honors. But it also keeps her safe from people that would abuse her and her power. So I think it's an act of selflessness, which is what I titled this stream, actually, because this was the theory that I wanted to drop on all of you today. And yes, I wrote in the description that this theory has massive implications, because it does. That is why Elden John has roots on him. Yes, because he's a shaman, because he's a Numen. These people go way back, and they are tree people. And Mikola's other self, being a tree person, is so important to why he abandons his doubt, vacillation, and fear, specifically in a place where she can absorb the nutrients of all of that congealed putrescence from their ancestors, and in that way their ancestors can live on through her, just like the trees of old, just like the shaman trees in the shaman village with the grandmothers. He is honoring his people, and St. Trina. And he's sparing her the possibility of us failing to be able to kill him, and his golden kindness not being added to the perfect golden order of perfect order and kindness. And this is also important, in my opinion, and it's also heavily implied when we read the description. It says, a secret incantation of Queen Marika. Secret. She told nobody of her kindness, but she did have it. Only the kindness of gold, without order. And we know that Marika's rule was one of order, without kindness, because she secreted it away. Specifically here, in her home, bathed in rays of gold. And this brings me back to what I was discussing yesterday, and the implications are massive. So there are lots of topics that branch off from this, including the relationship between Radigan and Marika, but also we recall when we fight Godric the Grafted. In the end of his fight, he says, one day we will return home, bathed in rays of gold. Okay, Devil, alright. Apollo says, but order was imposed on her. I don't think so. I think there are a lot of ways to determine, or interpret rather, the situation of order, but I do not think it was imposed on her. I think that it devolved into that. Because Marika had kindness in her, she had Mikola in her, she had all of that in her during her age of abundance, but her age of abundance failed for a very particular reason. And slowly after that, she's trying to like fix things, and she says, you know, comrades, why dost thou faith falter? Henceforth, you know, I will dig into the Golden Order and try to discern why, whatever. So at a certain point, she becomes more and more of a zealot into the Golden Order, but eventually she abandons it, and she ridicules Radigan for being a leal hound of the Golden Order. So I don't think the Golden Order was imposed on her at first. I think that the Fingers definitely did some fuckery. I have a theory about pink magic, that pink magic is mental magic, and that mental magic, we can see it used in the Bewitching branch. It very specifically has a pink hue when you use it. It's like a plume of pink. And then there's the Nox, use pink magic to make the ants their subjects so they can ride them. The Finger Creepers use a pink ball of magic to stun you and hold you in place. Metir, she uses pink magic to stun you and to summon things and to do all kinds of stuff. And her face glows with pink, and she shoots these like pale pink lasers at you and stuff. So I think the fingers definitely had a hand in manipulating America in the beginning. I think they definitely seduced her with power. They teamed up with her and like led her to her ascent to godhood. But all of this branches way far away from our topic today, and we will talk about more things, but I don't, I work. I just got home from work and I have to work again tonight. So, and I'm a nurse, so I can't get into everything that I want to get into, which is why I'm gonna start organizing my streams to focus on topics that I want to cover. And today I really want to focus on St. Trina and Mikola, and highlighting that I think that the nature of St. Trina is specifically intoxicating. Yeah, she's out there doing the most. That would be baby Kadira. But also that the relationship between Mikola and Trina is still solid. They still love each other, and I don't think he abandoned her in a hateful, neglectful, sorrowful way. I think it hurt him. He was scared. He didn't want to abandon her, but he knew that she didn't want to make the sacrifice. She did not want him to make the sacrifice that he wanted to make, and so she did not want to be sacrificed to that thing. And so she was spared that. And I'm sure that she didn't want it. I'm sure she was like, no, Mikola, no, don't do this. You don't want to be imprisoned forever alone. But like I said, it was an act of selflessness, and he wanted to spare her that fate. And so he found her a place full of their ancestors to keep her, where her roots could feed on the nutrients of the putrescence of their ancestors. And then David Lightning says, but Melania is biologically different from her brother, even though she's an Empyrean. If Mikola is directly a Newman, like his mother, then it's strange that Melania behaves more like fungus than plant. I'm going to address this in a minute. Apollo says, if they're all tree people, then like some trees, Melania would be a tree with a rotten decay slowly eating at her. Then Devil Lightning says, but she reproduces differently, budding off clones, and she seemingly lacks a dual aspect like Trina and Radigan. First of all, we are jumping to a lot of definitive conclusions without really having any information to back it up. These are definitely really good points to bring up in order for us to get to the root of like what we believe to be going on here. But I want to point out that yesterday I did bring up a theory about America. I strongly urge you to I'm not trying to self-advert. I don't think that I'm that interesting for hours. And I know that I do go on streams for a goodly amount of time. But I did talk about this yesterday at length. My theory about Marika and the Elden Ring is that Marika cannot have children. None of her, quote, demigod children went through her birth canal. She did not gestate them in her womb. They were aspects of her that she divested from herself. And because she is the vessel of the Elden Ring, and therefore sort of like a reflection of it. When she divests herself of an aspect of herself, so too does a great rune from the Elden Ring go with that aspect of herself. And that aspect of herself becomes a being, a demigod being. And that, I think, is why we have demigod children. The reason why Mesmer and Melina don't have great runes is because they aren't Marika's children. They aren't aspects of Marika that she divested from herself. My theory is that they are children of Radagon and the Glowmide Queen. That the Glowmide Queen was a contemporary of Marika's, and that there was a seduction and a betrayal. And specifically, there were multiple seductions and betrayals, but this one specifically is Marika pretending to be Radagon, pretending to be in love with the Glowmide Queen, producing children, both Mesmer and Melina, and then letting it be known that voila, actually I'm Marika, fuck you, now Malekith is gonna kill you and I'm gonna become a god. So all of that happened. But I also think that Mesmer may not know that, or may not have always known that Marika was not his mother, because he's one of the only one of the demigods who talks about Marika the way that he does, like a mother. But then when he's about to die, he doesn't call her Marika anymore. He doesn't call her mother anymore. He says, Mother Marika, a curse upon you. So another thing that we learn about Mesmer is Mesmer takes out his eye and pops it. And his eye isn't an eyeball, it's not an ocular globe. It is a seal of grace. And Marika used that seal of grace to seal the abyssal serpent inside of Mesmer. Much like Mesmer is a jar, and she's sealing away her enemy inside of it. And oh, okay, I'm sorry. I will turn the music down. Let's see if I can do that seamlessly here. So anyway, I believe that Marika did that with all of her kids. I don't think that Melina is, like I said, I think Melina is the daughter of Radagon and the Glowmide Queen, so is basically the daughter of Marika, but really is Radagon's daughter. The same way that Ronnie is basically Marika's daughter, but really is Radagon's daughter. And that's why Melina's like, is this what having a mother is like? And she's like, oh, well, I know who my mother is, but my relationship with my mother is nothing like Bok's relationship with his mother. And so with Melina, I think Melina had the Glowmide Queen shoved in her, and either Mesmer or Melina had the Fell God shoved in them, and Moog had the Hornsent God shoved inside of him, and Moog had the Formless Mother shoved inside of him. Morgott had the Hornsent God shoved inside of him. Melania had the Rock God sealed inside of her. Ronnie had the Dark Moon sealed inside of her. All of her children have some kind of god sealed inside of them, and that god is a great rune, and that great rune is part of the Elden Ring. In the beginning, Hayata says, everything was part of the one great, and then came fractures and births. Literally at the same time, the fractures of the Elden Ring, the births of the demigods, the fractures of the great runes inside of the demigods. And as these demigods are killed, the gods that Marika has sealed away inside of them are released. And because Marika's flesh melds harmoniously with the flesh of others, these beings meld with the demigods who they've been stuffed inside of like jars. So now they are all saints, and they harness the power of the beings that have been locked away inside of them, which is why Mesmer apologizes to his mother and then unleashes the abyssal serpent on the world. But he's still part of it because it's inside of him, and he's melded harmoniously with it, and it's no longer sealed behind an eye, a seal of grace. So all of these children are not children, they're aspects of Marika, and their great runes are aspects of the Elden Ring. And so, with all of that being said, Miquella's plan is to control fate. So yes, he loves Radahn. Radahn is kind. Radahn is noble. So he wants Radahn to be his king consort, but he also wants to control the power that Radahn has. We know about the star shards, that the star shards are the essence of life and residual life. The blue stars are residual life. The amber stars are the essence of life. The blue stars control the fates of men. The amber stars control the fates of the gods. We find an amber star shard specifically at a statue of Miquella. And Seluvis tells us that he can make a draft to turn Ranni into a puppet. So the reason why is because that amber star shard controls the fates of the gods and the demigods. So if Miquella can harness the power of Radahn, who commands the stars, who held back Ranni's fate, then he can harness his own fate, and he can abandon it, and he can leave St. Trina to live her own life and go on her own path down in the fissure, to grow stronger with the putrescence of their forebears, and he can ascend to godhood, create his circlet, all the kindness of gold, which Marika tried to hide away from everyone. But when Miquella was born, he was that aspect of Marika. She was so scared of her kindness because she thought it was naivete, because she thought it brought her pain, that she hid it away, and finally divested herself of it. But Miquella rebirthed it when he became God. And now he wants us to take it and put it inside the Elden Ring. Okay, let me see. So anyway, I am completely backtracking and talking about stuff I talked about yesterday. This is probably going to happen a lot because of the way that I do the live streams instead of videos. But I see that it's nearly 11 o'clock again, and this is my log off time because I'm a nurse and I have to function. But I think I got my major idea across for today, which is that there's more to St. Trina than is on the surface. St. Trina wields a toxicity, specifically a toxicity. She is a plant person, a tree person, she's a shaman. Her power could even be intoxicating to Mikola, even though it's an aspect of himself. So I believe him divesting himself of her had a lot of purposes and meanings to it, but I more than anything believe it was an act of selflessness, and that's why I titled this stream this way, and that's why I wanted the focus to be on St. Trina, and that's why I wanted to come here to the shaman village to tell their story the way that I see it, because I don't think that many other people see it the way that I do. And I don't think that I'm right, and I don't think that I'm wrong. I think that I'm bringing a new perspective that I haven't heard anyone talk about. And I think that in this community of ideas, the most generous and kindest thing that we can do is share them and consider them and perpetuate them. So here are my thoughts on St. Trina and Mikola. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties that I seem to have every single day. I hope those will go away. And I thank you guys for sticking around while I blabber on. And I want to take the last few minutes of the stream, about 20 to 18 minutes, just to answer questions and stuff like that. So if any of you have questions or things you want to talk about or ask or anything like that, now is the time. I'm going to be focusing 100% on the chat at this point, and just talking to you until I log off. Wanton's trumpets getting congealed, 100%. Yes. Sarieldra says, I had a pet theory that since America is cursed, a cursed vessel would taint its contents, which is the Elden Ring, which then controls the laws of reality. That's really cool. Metal Foxhound says, thank you for streaming, Kate. This Trina theory was so refreshing to hear and fascinating to listen to. Thank you! I really appreciate it. It took me a lot of pain and sadness wading through that to come to the conclusion that I did, because I just knew in my heart that Mikola wouldn't do something so horrible and hateful to St. Trina, and so I just followed my heart, and voila, herein lies the path. Apollo says, yeah, it's a bit difficult to get more deeper perspective on these stories, especially the DLC. Everyone just thought Mikola had the hots for Radon and did some heinous stuff for it. I 100% agree with you, Apollo. I think that the nuanced perspectives when it comes to the DLC are really hard to come by, and that's why some of the biggest lore creators like Ratatoska and even Smotown and Votividya and Tarnished Archaeologist, nobody's really been uploading very much lore, and I think it's because they don't know what to say about it. Like, you pretty much saw, like, everybody kind of thinks the DLC kind of spoon-fed us a little bit too much, but the more I ponder it, the less I think so. I think it's just a little bit more difficult to discern what the DLC was trying to say to us this time. Black Man says, the difference between what a medicine and a toxin can be is all in the dosage. 100% Blackman. That's why I was saying earlier, like the dilute versus the concentrate can change when a substance is either medicinal or poisonous. 100%. Apollo, who do you think is the Glomide Queen? I think the Glomide Queen is her own being that was a contemporary of Marika's. And the reason why Melina resembles her and behaves like her and even looks like her at the end of the Frenzied Flame ending is because the Glomide Queen was sealed behind Melina's golden eye that she... no, it's not her golden eye that she had closed. It was her gloam eye. Was sealed behind her gloam eye inside of Melina. So when the Frenzied Flame goes, kaput, Melina breaks the seal and, or rather she's killed by the Frenzied Flame. And when she's killed by the Frenzied Flame, because the Rune of Death is back in action, she releases the Glomide Queen inside of her. So Melina is not the Glomide Queen, she is the vessel of the Glomide Queen. And so she has melded harmoniously with the Glomide Queen. So while Melina is not herself the Glomide Queen with the Glomide Queen's past, the Glomide Queen was stuffed inside of her the same way that the Abyssal Serpent was stuffed inside of Mesmer. Devil Lightning says, is Ramina a plant person too? And why is her rot pink? Yes, Ramina is a plant person too. If you look very closely at Ramina, she has plant hair and like plant torso, and her spear is very plant based until you get to the tail sin of a scorpion, which is the sharp part of the spear. But yes, she's very much a plant person, but she is a saint, the same way that St. Trina is. And what a saint is, at least from my understanding of it from the DLC, saints are beings who have melded harmoniously with one or more other life forms. And these things are experiments. So sometimes you come out with jar people that look horrifying and aren't divine at all, and they're decrepit and they're awful and they're suffering and it's horrible. But every now and then you come out with a saint, and they are very much like Centrina, very much like Saint Ramina. Those are the only two saints that we come across in the game. And what are they? They're part plant and they're part person, and they're part, in Ramina's case, two different animals. So yes, Ramina is a saint and she is a plant person. Blackman says, great stream, hoping for more. Thank you, Blackman. It's always lovely to have you. You are one of my favorite people to see, along with all my friends in the chat. So thank you for coming, and I'm looking forward to discussing more of these theories with you. Sarieldra says, oh, she's atting other people. Paolo says that's cool. Devil Lightning says, is Charo's hidden grave truly a nothing zone? The vista of blue and red areas looked so beautiful, but was disappointing in its emptiness. I think Charo's grave represents the death that is associated with the color red, and with the ghostly white magic that is cold, and with the Helfin steeple. So I think the red is associated with the Helfin. And I do think, tragically, it is rather barren. There's not a whole lot of lore for us to glean from it. But from the loot there and from the enemies there, I think Charo's Chara's gravesite is supposed to be associated with the Helfen. Um, Apollo says, agreed. I don't even know what the point of the area was. Um, I think there was some development production problems. I think they rushed out the game, which is why some of the writing seems a bit too spoon-fed and too forced, because they kind of had to just do this quickly. It's really difficult to write the nuance, so just shit it out, shit it out. We've been waiting 2 years for a fucking DLC, shit it out. And Miyazaki's like, well, basically it's an expansion. Basically it's Elden Ring 2. And they're like, we don't give a fuck, shit it out. So I think that's what happened. That's the impression that I get anyway, because I have the same feelings that you guys have about it. May Y says, yeah, like the more I think about Elden Ring, the more doubts I have. LOL. I agree with you. Devil Lightning says, what do you think of the idea that Godwin was just always a fishman all along? I think there's a lot of evidence to support that. Do you know who Melusine is? Melusine is... thank you, Metal Fox Sound. Melusine is a folklore character from European folklore, and she has like 2 fishtails on snake limbs, basically. And she has long, beautiful blonde hair and is a beautiful woman from like the waist up. But everywhere else, she's like this. She's a water dragon, is what she's called in the folklore. And her story is that she seduced a king, and the king fell in love with her and wanted her to be his queen, and she kept denying him. When she finally agreed to it, it was under certain conditions, and those conditions were that she wanted to have Saturdays, specifically 100% to herself, to do whatever she wanted, and he wasn't allowed to ask questions or spy on her. And he agreed to this. So, tra-la-la, time passes, and they have a child together. But she never allows him to see the child. And, you know, he's wondering, like, you know, a week has gone by, he hasn't seen the child. She keeps saying that the child is sickly, la 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 la. So he can't see the child. The child's constantly with wet nurses and her, and, you know, needs round-the-clock care, etc., etc. Well, finally the king grows tired after like 3 weeks of not seeing his newborn child, that he peeps through a hole in her door to see what the fuck she's up to on a Saturday. And he learns her secret, that she is a sea dragon, and that she has limbs of scales that have the tails of fish, but her limbs, the legs themselves, are like the bodies of snakes. And she has the long leathery wings of dragons. And, you know, he isn't so much upset about her as he is about his child, who he spies and sees is a fishman, like a exactly the same way that Melusine is. And when he sees this, he calls his own child Abomination and scares her, like, basically out of town. The reason why I am showing you game footage is because Melusine is actually depicted in Elden Ring, and she looks remarkably similar to a certain character in the lore who we see depicted fully only once, and he is a fishman. Do you want to see Melusine? There she is. She's right there. See on the side of the chair? See the twirling scaly snake bodies under the dress of a woman? Her abdomen, you can see her navel, you can see her arms crossed over her breasts, you can see her head atop her shoulders, and underneath her dress you see 2 snakes spiraling, and at the end of those snake tails you see fish tails. So that is Melusine in the game, which I think confirms that indeed Marika is some other kind of being, or perhaps Godwin is melded harmoniously with some other creature, possibly a dragon, which is why he, is a dragon person. And it's probably because Marika shoved one of her god enemies inside of his eye, and he melded harmoniously with him. Okay. Apollo says, so we can say that the Glowmite Queen and Marika could be similar to how Ronnie and Mikola are in their competition to becoming gods. Yes, we could say that. Sarieldra says, would Melina come back to life in post-ring mending after Destined Death is released if you don't do the frenzied ending? Perhaps she would. Perhaps she would. Whiskey Jack says, if Marika is not also the Glowmite Queen, but also is not the mother of Mesmer and Melina, then what's the deal with the butterflies? Well, the butterflies are exactly the same. The butterflies don't change. The butterflies never signify Marika. The butterflies only signify the children, the demigod children of Radigan, actually. Or Radigan and Marika, or Radigan, Marika, and the Glowmite Queen. So the connection really is, I don't know. I would have to think about that longer. But the only connection I've seen with it is that each of the butterflies signifies some certain aspect of the children of hers that are in some way related to Radigan. But then Ronnie doesn't have a butterfly, so that's a thing to think about. Good question, Whiskey Jack. I will have to think about that and get back to you. Metal Fox Sound is saying shit it out. Tragic, why do you people rush projects so much just to be patient? Oh, yeah. Hi, Tyler. Hello, Tyler. Whoa, oh, neat. Chair law. Oh, you guys are reacting to my chair law. Okay, guys, it's 2 minutes till 11. My allergies are acting up, and I really need to do what I need to do before I have to go to bed. So thank you guys so much for joining me again. I really, really appreciate you. It's been fun. I really, really have enjoyed this. Thank you for engaging with me. Thank you for asking questions and joining me in conversation. And thank you for the really fantastic challenges to my ideas, but also just saying, well, what about this? What about this? Because it helps me fill in the gaps, which, if I ever make videos, it'll be really important for me to be able to fill in those gaps. So having your perspectives and helping me think about, where the holes are is really, really helpful. So anyway, bye Revu, bye Metal, bye Sarieldra, bye Apollo, bye Tyler, bye Devil, bye Whiskey Jack. Bye everybody. Thank you so much, guys, gals, non-binary pals. I will see you next time.